Hey everyone, Fast here. So today I'll be recreating this artwork using mostly C4D and Redshift. Keep in mind that I probably won't cover any post effects because the video might get way too long. So let's go.
Alright, so here we are in C4D. So the first thing you have to set up is the document settings. I will go to my standard settings. I always like to start with half the final resolution because it's easier to process on Redshift. I will select Redshift as my engine and tone down the passes a little bit. So to make this artwork right here, we first start setting up the floor and the sphere so we have a nice idea of the dimensions that we are going for. So let me just enable hidden lines so we have an idea of the polygons on this floor. Scale this up a little bit and then add the sphere. I always go for the icosahedron and then increase the segments a little bit. That's a pretty simple artwork, it shouldn't be that hard. So let's set up the camera. I always use a target camera, so we always have like a nice control of the camera movements. Set this viewport to this camera and then maybe reset the position. So we have a clean camera group right here, right? So for this artwork, I used fisheye lenses. So to achieve this fisheye look, you have to use Redshift tag to modify the camera. So here apply the fisheye effect, and nothing will happen right here. You need to press render, and then click here. So let me add like a dome light so you can get it. Yeah. So always with the fisheye effect you have like these borders. To get rid of them you need to go to the tag and then increase this to 1.8. Now we have like the fisheye effect but without the borders, right? The perspective here, it's the camera a little bit lower, so maybe something like this, and maybe get the target a little bit up. So notice that we have this horizon right here that's almost like this one right here, right? We need to increase this sphere a little bit, and we have two options. We either increase this way, which I don't like, or remove the sphere. We need to make this edible first, and then we move the axis down to this point right here. So if we scale this sphere right now, it will still like stick to the ground. Then we can make this sphere bigger, something like this. Maybe the camera needs to be a little bit lower, a little bit, yeah. All right. So the next thing we have to do is to set up these like pillars on the side. It's pretty easy, nothing special. We're basically cloning a bunch of pillars on the right, and then with this symmetric modifier right here, we like reflect to the other side. So let me grab a cube right here and do some like simple extrudes just to make a diagonal pillar, something like this, and we should be good to go. It's really simple, it's nothing that complicated. So we can place this pillar, let me see, yeah, we can leave it right here because I will use the cloner, and the cloner will reset the position to the center. So let's grab a cloner right here, set this pillar as child of the cloner, and then mess with the position, something like this. Let's hit play so we can get a nice perspective on the position of the cloner. Get this cloner a little bit right here and increase the amount of the pillars. Maybe it needs to be a little bit thinner, something like this. let's make it the distance a little bit shorter. Yeah, something like this. Maybe this sphere needs to be, yeah, because I want more of the pillars showing up. Yeah, something like this. Then we basically need to use the symmetry modifier to reflect this to the other side. Let's just, yeah. So right now we have something like this. Awesome. Maybe we should increase the height of these pillars. I don't know, it's pretty basic, but that's enough to explain the process. Yeah, something like this. All right. So the next thing is probably to start working on the textures. Yeah, I have like a texture on the floor that has this grid that's a little bit different to set up. So for the floor, let's create a Redshift material. Let's call it floor. I will start getting rid of the diffuse channel. I pretty much never use it. Let's grab a texture right here, just a basic specular map, so we can work with specular. Yeah, it's a basic grunge map and a ramp. This ramp will help us to get a little bit more control of the specular map. Maybe add to the roughness. Yeah, right. So if we add this right here, you already have the map. I will maybe increase the tiles just so we have like a smaller, yeah, texture. Let me get this camera right here. And I always like to maybe mess with the values a little bit. I never use it like full black or full white. Always something in the middle. Right, and maybe a little bit right here, so we can get, yeah, more reflections. Perfect. So the tricky thing right here is to make these wires, right? So to do that, I need to use a material blender, because there's basically two layers on that material. There's the base one, that's this material that I've just made, and there's a second one that's basically an incandescent material. It's the same as the emissive material of the standard render that goes in the second layer, right? But if I make it additive and play right now, nothing will happen because the blend color is full black. If I turn it white, it's basically multiplying the values or adding the values, and I don't want that. I want to use a texture as the blend color, just as you would use a mask on Photoshop, right? So let me grab a wireframe node. This wireframe is pretty awesome because it uses the polygons of the object to display a wireframe of it. So we disable the hidden edges, so we have only the square ones, and invert the values, so we can have like a grid. And maybe increase this a little bit. Right, amazing. So if we use this as the blend color of the incandescent material, we have both of the base material and the grid on top of it. So if we go to this perspective, we have something like it. And if we want to change the amount of grids, we just need to change the amount of segments of our plane right here, something like this. The thing is that on the final render, the grid, it's not like fully active. There is another mask on top of it to create some variation. And to do something like it, we will need to, where is the Redshift? Yeah, we will need to add a composite, color composite. So we will use this node to mix both the wireframe and another texture that I will simply duplicate it, grab another texture that has a little bit more contrast, maybe this one, and go to the blend color and set the color composite to multiply. This way, let me connect it directly to the output. We'll have something like this. Let's change the camera. So we already have some like missing parts. So if we invert, we have something like it, like this, right? So we pretty much can change the amount of it with these sliders of the ramp. But again, if we add it to as the, where is it? Yeah, if we add this as the blend color instead of just the wireframe, we have something like this, right? So if you go to this perspective, it's basically the same thing as the final one, right? Okay, we're pretty much there. Another thing that's nice to add, it's maybe a normal map to this floor as well, but it's not like essential or anything. Let's duplicate this material and maybe just disable this part right here and use only the base one for the sphere, like the main texture. Go to the sphere, and now we have something like this. It's always nice to change the UV mapping to spherical. Nice. Alright, so for the pillars you don't need anything special. Let me see right here. Yeah, it's basically the same texture as the floor. Let me just get it, the pillar one. Pillar. Alright, it's basically the same thing. Alright. Yeah, so we need to change, it's right there. We need to change the UV mapping of this texture because it's like completely stretched. So if we use cubic, yeah, much better. And then we can always add a bevel deformer because this will help the pillar have like softer edges. Yeah, that's enough. Let me just check right here. Yeah, perfect. So we probably have something like this. Yeah, amazing. Just change through hidden lines. Perfect. So we're probably good to go to lighting. That's like one of the main aspects of it. So right here, I maybe used an HDR. Yeah, no, yeah, that's probably HDR. So with the dome light, we can apply a HDR map. So let's go to my materials, HDR, pack 1. I probably use this one. It's a free pack. I don't remember exactly where I got it, but it's free. I remember this one is free. So if you like lock the camera and maybe disable the background and change to 180. No, maybe increase the exposure a little bit. Yeah, we are almost there. Almost there. Right. So we probably have like half of the lighting figured out. Okay. So for the background, I probably, yeah, I use volumes. One thing that I always like to do is to apply some volume to the scene. So I go to Redshift environment to set up a basic fog. And what I like to do is to have a spotlight that it's not actually no, not spotlight, like point light. Yeah, that it's actually not lighting the scene. If you go right here, let's disable this. Yeah, we can't see the spotlight, but if we go to the volume tab and increase the how much of the volume it affects, you're starting to get like a little bit of volume right here, and maybe increase the intensity multiplier, right? The thing is, I don't want this light affecting any of the other materials. I just want it like affecting the volumes. So I go to the Ray tab and disable diffuse, glossy, and pretty much everything. And this light won't affect the surfaces, but only the volume. So it's pretty nice, so we can use it maybe to light the background without affecting the other stuff in the scene. Maybe something. Yeah, right here. I don't remember exactly. Yeah, maybe increase the intensity a little bit. Yeah, we're getting there. I'm probably using like a blue color as always. Yeah, we're getting there. Right, okay. Alright, and we can always use the Redshift camera tag to add some bloom. It's not essential, but it works. Helps blend this part a little bit. Alright, increase intensity a little bit. So right now, if you take a look on this final render, there's like a silhouette on top of the sphere, and we don't have the silhouette right here because the silhouette was made using like another area light. So this area light, it doesn't have any purpose in lighting the scene. The lighting is pretty much done, but the thing is, I used it just to give a little more silhouette to the sphere. After all, that's the main object of the scene. It's always nice to give it contrast from the foreground to the background. So let me change it like 90 degrees. Yeah, right here. Something like this. Let me hit play. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Alright, I still have to figure out the position. Yeah. Oh, that looks bad. Really bad. Alright. Let me try to understand what the fuck did I do. Yeah, something like this. Alright. Maybe it's too strong. That's a problem. Yeah, it's probably too strong. So yeah, increase the size a little bit and start having like the same silhouette that we have right here. Maybe a little bit more, a little bit less right here, a little bit more right here, and then change the color to something like blue. Yeah, and then increase the, yeah, something like this. So it's nice because we have a little bit more contrast between the foreground and the background. Maybe this dome light needs a little bit more like punch. Yeah, and we can always like adjust the red amount later. So maybe to end this, we should, of course, there are some final touches that we have to change. Like on the final one, this ground is like red and stuff. So it's nothing that essential. Maybe using a 5 intensity right here. We can maybe offset this texture a little bit so we can get different results on the floor, and that's something that's really easy to animate and gives a nice result. We can always animate this mask, and we have like lines that are literally moving and stuff. Alright, so yeah, I think that's basically it. I mean, the final one has some post-processing effects and this little guy right here. Let me see if I can grab this little guy. Merge, and then get some of the models. Fuse, model 4, maybe model 3. Yeah, walking. Yeah, that's the same guy. I use it. Yeah, something like this. No, not at all like this. Maybe a little bit closer to the sphere, way smaller. Yeah, something like this. Yeah. Alright, so that's pretty much the same. Maybe add some normal maps, right? So if you can see right here, let me render this out. These glossy areas doesn't have any like details. So what we can do is to add a normal map on top of everything. So it adds detail on these glossy areas as well. So this goes right here, a normal map to the base material, bump input. Then we can get like a texture, full text, plaster. I like this normal map a lot. maybe repeat like 3 times so we can get like smaller version. Yeah, so we start having like details on the floor as well. And disable this. Yeah, so we start getting a little bit more detail on the floor as well, and we can add it to this sphere as well. So okay, I think that we are good to go.
Well, I hope this video helped you understand how I do my stuff. If you have any questions, any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me on the comment section down below, or maybe DM me on Instagram, whatever you like. And make sure to check all my social media links down below. So, thanks.